Thank you for tuning in to another episode of my Veterans to Success podcast. You probably know by now, my mission is to help 1 million veterans and entrepreneur business owners achieve the dreams, goals, and aspirations they deserve. That is why I created the Veterans to Success podcast, because I get to interview guys, men and women, who want to share their fascinating stories with you about their time before, during and after their time in the military, so you can benefit and overcome your challenges. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be mesmerized, astounded, and entertained. Hello and welcome to another episode of Veterans to Success, the podcast where I get to meet some extraordinary people who seemingly are ordinary, do have extraordinary stories though. And today I've got Marc with me. Hello Marc, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Could you just pronounce your surname for me, please, so I get it right?
I certainly can. If I had a fiver for every time it's been pronounced, I'd be doing no bad now. It's Poli, P-O-L-I.
Marc Poli, thank you very much, because I'd hate to have made a cock up of it. So
no, don't worry.
And we've had a good chat. We've got to know each other, I want you to share your story. So let's just dive straight in, because as I've said, there's no big introduction. We do a steady reveal as we go along, having a conversation. So tell me about your time before the military, going back to the days when you were a young lad. What was going on in your life?
Well, I grew up in Leith, just outside Edinburgh. I went to school, a Catholic school called St Mary's, and then obviously from primary school I went on to a high school called Holyrood. Obviously there was a wee breakup in that, so during that time when my mum and dad had obviously split up, there was a disagreement on where I was going, because my mum went back to Glasgow and my dad was still in Leith. So the courts had basically made the decision for me to go into care whilst the court cases were going on, and I got moved to Musselburgh. So I had to obviously change schools and went to a school called White Craigs in Musselburgh. And then from there, once things were all sorted out, I was able to choose to go back to my dad's, because I didn't want to leave school and didn't want to go to Glasgow. So I stayed with my dad.
Right. So let me just dive in here a bit, because I know a little bit about the story, if you don't mind sharing with me.
No worries.
Because as we look back at the past, we seem to skim over stuff, and it doesn't really get to the trials and tribulations you were having at that time. Right. So as a young boy, I mean, you've got an Italian look in you, and the surname gives that away as well. So your dad was an Italian, and met your mum, and your mum was, as you politely put it, a pads brat. When we know what a pads brat is, it's someone who's a child of someone who was in the military. So your granddad was served in the same regiment as you, didn't he?
He did, yeah. My grandfather was a Royal Scot. He actually joined as a drummer boy prior to the Second World War. Obviously, he'd served in the regiment. So he actually, after the Second World War, he served in the Suez Canals as well. He was a devoted timer, for a better, long timer. And my mum was actually brought up in Dreghorn, in the patch there, with my nana and her two brothers. But yeah, my grandfather was well devoted. He played in the pipe band. He was a drummer. So yeah, I wanted to follow in his footsteps. I was the only one of, I think it was something like 12 grandchildren or something I actually joined, and none of his sons joined either. So it was a bit of an achievement for me to do that for him.
Good, excellent. And I know you're very proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so as a young lad, your mum and dad weren't getting on that well, and no. They separated. And how old were you then?
10.
10, right. So And what was going on in your life? How did you feel at that time? Because you were good as gold, weren't you? You did nothing wrong whatsoever.
Oh no, I was an angel. No, I just it was a strange one because, as I said, my mum was going back to Glasgow, wanted to move to Glasgow, and my dad was obviously settling where we were. The two of them were fighting over who was taking me, and then the courts made the decision to put me into foster care until the court case was up and sorted, etc. But the way it worked with Scottish law is that when you became 11 years old, you could decide who you wanted to live with. And ultimately, that's what it came down to. I made that choice. And, for a 10-year-old going to 11, choosing your mum or dad
Yeah.
isn't good. It's no nice. It's horrible to be put in that position. And it was a hard choice. It wasn't a hard choice to make because I didn't want to move to Glasgow. That was the only reason why I didn't go to my mum's. I would have stayed with my mum wholeheartedly, like most children would, growing up in a loving family. It was just because I didn't want to go to Glasgow. I didn't want that change and upheaval, etc. In my life.
And that's
So, and I chose my dad, and unfortunately, like most men back in the late 80s, early 90s, and I'm probably trying to give him some an excuse here, but my dad was a workaholic, so he was never there anyway. So a lot of the time I had to defend for myself. I had to clean, I had to wash, I had to do everything I wanted. But then the other side, when I went to secondary school, I was even able to have parties and have people over because my dad was never there. So you took the good with the bad,
and how did that short stint with the foster home go? If
It
you don't
was
mind
horrible.
sharing that.
It was absolutely horrific. She was an old fucking bat, excuse my French. And one of the things she used to do is make you sit there practically all night until you ate your dinner, and it was disgusting, and I just wouldn't eat it. But lo and behold, when you came home from school the next day, it was the same dinner, albeit just heated up the microwave or whatever. And I think I lasted about a week of doing that, and then I decided I've had enough of this shit. So I walked down to the main road, and I noticed when I was going to school, used to see lorries going past all the time.
Yeah.
And I decided to basically hitch an Arctic truck down and asked him if he was going to Leith Docks. And he's like, "Yeah, I am." I was like, "Can I get a lift to Leith Docks?" And he took me to Leith Docks, and I walked home from there. And to the astonishment of my dad, I was sitting on the step waiting for him coming home from work. So,
And then you had a visit the next day, didn't you, or something?
yeah, well, the police, the sheriff officers were there to basically collect me and take me back to Musselburgh. And obviously that was quite an ordeal scenario because my dad was obviously very angry, and seeing me upset and the way they conducted themselves, because they were obviously doing their job, so they don't come nice and nice. They don't come basically bearing gifts. They come and drag and take away,
Yeah.
It's a strange one because talking to you about that, I've not really spoke to a lot of people about that. Take Paul for instance. It works for me here. Paul and I are very close, and I seen his wee eyes light up as if to say, no, light up, but look up as if to say, Christ, that's a new one. I never discussed that. It's one of the things that, not that I'm ashamed of it, it's more or less probably the case that it's just one of the wee memories in a box that you put away, yeah?
Yeah, and that's why I love these doing these podcasts, because I get to share loads of information and history about each other. And of course, during it, I mean, I'm open as well, because that's the point of the podcast. I mean, the main thrust of this is during this conversation, if you come up with one tip, or we come up with one tip between us that's going to help a listener, well, that's a job done, isn't it? I mean,
listen, 100%, 100%.
So you went back to the old bat, right? When the sheriffs picked you up and took you back nice and friendly, wrapped you up warm and cared for you, and as they do. You went back, and then you were in court. You made a choice to go with your dad because you didn't want to go to Glasgow. So and then you discovered that while you became very independent early, And on the flip side of that, it meant you could have parties as you got older.
Yeah.
What was happening then in your life for like your school life and your friends and stuff?
There wasn't, for me, more than anything, school life for me was buying 10 cigarettes in the morning, going to school, and by break time, having the 10 cigarettes sold for 20 pence a cigarette, so that I was basically getting my pound dinner money back, and it was a pound there for buying myself 10 cigarettes again. So even from an early age, I was doing what I can to make what money I could, basically. And then obviously moving on from there, I was selling drugs. Quite happy to admit that, because growing up in a place like Leith, you either do or you don't.
Yeah.
And that in itself, because you want the best of things, and stealing as well. Stealing was a big culture of growing up in Leith as well. Like breaking into cars, stealing cars, going into shops, stealing clothes. You name it, we did it.
And how old were you at this stage?
Christing, between 10 and 14,
Right. Okay.
even 15.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, as I said, I started my apprenticeship and I started making some money, that a lot of the silly stuff evaporated, and I stopped it. And a lot of the reason why I always wanted to join the army, but I knew in my heart of hearts that I had to get away. I had to get away from Leith. I had to basically make that ground. I didn't want to be that individual that married a girl I went to school with, had 4 kids to her, blah, 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 etc., etc. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to do different things,
Yeah.
and get that education that I never had for school, because, like a lot of lads that join the infantry, you're screaming out for a family. You're screaming out for friends for life. You're screaming out for that camaraderie. And I never joined the army for life to a degree. I
Yeah.
joined to basically give me a stepping stone, and I certainly got that in abundance. And I had a great time as well at the same time. Yeah.
So so your dad said to you that you wouldn't hack it, didn't he?
Yeah. He did. He said I wouldn't hack it, and I'd be home within a couple of weeks, and all that carry on.
Because I remember that same sort of conversation with my dad as well. So I know it goes.
I'd like to think that I made him eat his words, because I think I managed, let me see, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 1, 2, 3. I managed 7 years, so I done no bad.
Yeah, yeah. And what was it like what was the timing where you're 18 and then you go into the career centre? What was it that made you want to go? And what day did you go?
So I remember I was working, as I said to you, I done my apprenticeship as a scaffolder 2 years, and I was working in Rose Street in Edinburgh on a job. And I remember break time, I put my belt up in the first lift. First lift is basically the first height up in
Yeah,
scaffold.
yeah, I know, yeah.
And then I walked round to the careers office. I'm trying to remember the name of the street it used to be on. It's actually the back of where it is in town now.
How old were you then?
I was 18 when I got into training on the 9th of June, and I turned 19 on the 20th of July, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So you must have gone to the career centre pretty much as you were 18 then.
Aye. Well, I was leading up to it, because I hadn't told my dad. You see, I hadn't told my dad until I was I'd obviously went 18, and then obviously I'd figured over, and then I tried to keep it from him as best I could, because I wanted to make sure I was getting in before I jumped in with 10 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember just after my 18th birthday, I went to Liverpool Career Centre, and I said, yeah, I'd like to join. So, yeah, and you sign up, you get in. What's it like? What are you feeling like on that first day?
That's what I'm saying. I still remember. So my mum had actually drove me to Glencourse Barracks, where the training was. It was a Sunday. It was, as I said, the 9th of June. And still remember walking in the gates, and it's still to this day, the Royal Scot gates at the front. And just felt surreal. Walked in, the first person to speak to me was my platoon sergeant, and lo and behold, he was a Royal Scot as well. A guy called Davy Whitelaw, absolute Jamie a bloke. However, he was a bit of a character then, and my instructor was a chap called can't mind his first name, but he got called Moose. He was a Royal Scot, and for Leith as well, like myself, Moose Riley. He was a character as well. Still speak to him on Facebook, the two of them. But the training was what you made it. It was just either make or break you. You know, that's what they were out to do. They were just out to basically make you or break you. And if they broke you, that was you. You were digging that bell, and you were finishing. You weren't going back. And
what kept you going? I mean, your dad's saying you'd never hack it.
Aye, he that was one of my incentives. But to be fair, my pals, you know, everybody in the room with you. You know, I remember one of the first guys to basically rap it was a 25-year-old chap. He was the oldest in our room. I think he was joining. I'm going to say the Argyles. I can't remember what he was joining. It was one of the Scottish Regiments anyway, and he was sitting at the end of his bed, and he was absolutely distraught. And he's like, "I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm done. I'm getting out." And that was the, you know, because training was horrific. It was, you know, a lot of the time we slept on the floor because it was quicker to put a sleeping bag back in a compression sack than it was to make the bloody old-fashioned hospital corner beds, do you know? And, you know, Christ, we got irons thrown through windows, and, you know, show parades outside the guard room at 10 o'clock at night with your whole bed space in your locker as it's pushed the rain.
Quick change parade.
It was surreal. It was horrific, you know, and the guy in the bed space beside you was smashed up your locker as you were smashed up his, and then you were both told, "I'll see you back in half an hour. That bed space better be immaculate." You know, it was sleep deprivation. But see, when you break it all down, it's like the Karate Kid scenario. They were breaking you down for when you went away and you done like an operational tour, because when you go to Ireland, you're not getting your locker smashed, but you've got sleep deprivation. You hardly bloody sleep. You're constantly on the go. So it does prepare you for all that shite that comes with it. But just at the time when you're used to your lifestyle back home, and then all of a sudden that gets taken away from you, and your nice centre parting curtains in your hair, and it all gets shaved off your head, and it was all the character building of it. Whereas I believe now they all get quilts, etc. So change days straight away.
And
bring back the old hospital corners. I say it's good character building.
Yeah, it is, and along with everything else that goes with it, your bed pack out the window, and
it's unreal. If your socks weren't smiley faced when they were folded, they got launched. You know, and it took us weeks to actually realise we all had different toothpastes, and we were all getting our lockers trashed. And it wasn't until the penny dropped. You've got an Aquafresh, you've got a Colgate. We've not got the same toothpaste. That's why it's getting smashed. Somebody needs to get to it. That was the other thing. You weren't allowed to go to the naffy either. So it was a case of sneaking out the fire exit, getting 12 tubs of toothpaste all the same, and hoping to sell them in the naffy, or making swaps with somebody else to get the same toothpaste, making sure the creases weren't in the toothpaste, they were all folded nice. It was the fuck about fact that it was there. You know, I remember I used to like to get the bin. The bin had to be at the front of the door as you opened it, so you could boot it right down the floor. And the reason why he did that is because the flooring that you'd bumped, spent that old-fashioned bloody bumper buffing, you scratched on the floor when he kicked the bin. And the bin had to be polished, and taps had to be... It was horrific. But as a young boy, you either took that shit or you didn't. And the ones who didn't, I still say to this day, they were the clever ones. It was, you had to be a wee bit off your trolley to actually pump with that shit. So we did, we got on with it.
Off your trolley, I love that phrase. It's great.
You had to be, because MD have a half it with any sense at all. Wouldn't he sit there and be like, "I'm not doing this"? You know, sitting there ironing clothes all day, silly, and then lo and behold, somebody's smashed up and thrown out because it's not in the wardrobe the same way as the guy next to him. You know, but as an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, your brain just doesn't digest that, because the common sense of your life hasn't kicked in, you know?
Yeah, well, I remember my first visit to jail. All we heard was, "Buy your beds." And we thought, "Oh, no, what's on?" So as it came in, it had already clocked, right? My mate was still pressing his kit, right? And when he said, "Look, buy your beds," he put the iron with water in it, still hot, in my top box. Stood by your beds, comes in, this sergeant, right? Oh, Connor, what's this? And I look round, innocent, and he's on my bed with the iron, getting it out. Okay. And he's got it upside down, pouring the water on my bed. And he said, what's this? I paused and I said, water, sergeant? And wow, my feet did not touch the ground. I was in jail so quick. And I thought, maybe I should think before I open my mouth next time.
It's stuff you laugh about now, but at the time it wasn't bloody funny, that's for sure. It was hard. It was hard going, and that obviously that was phase one for you. And, you know, joining a Scottish regiment, we were very anal when it came to kit. You know, at the time when I joined, there was 7 Scottish regiments. So nowadays everyone all wears kilts, whereas I didn't wear a kilt when I was in. So, you know, we were very much. The other regiments called us Bog and Royals because the classes having no kit, but you know, brogues for us had to be immaculate. And I remember the English lads used to get out on a Saturday Glen course. We didn't, so we'd be sitting there polishing away, sitting inside watching them go out and having fun, etc. And you know, we just used to get hammered, absolutely hammered. But it's a different kettle of fish. You've still got a bit of bullshit in phase 2, but in phase 2, it's more or less your trade training. It's learning more to be a soldier. So that element it kind of drops a little bit, and then when you get to your battalion, depending on what your role is and where you are in the world, depends on what you're doing. So, you know, when I first joined the regiment, we were in Colchester. Colchester for me as a young guy was absolutely epic. Loved it. What a great 4 years. To then go to Ballykelly, which again had its ups and downs because it was a residential posting instead of a tour, and then obviously finished off at Dreadcorn. And Dreadcorn, as you know, is very much you're in back in Edinburgh. A lot of people like myself, when you join the army, you didn't join the army, you go back home. It's back to basically doing Gargett's Edinburgh Castle and all that carry on. And aye.
So you joined you joined in about 93, was it?
96.
Oh, 96. Oh, 96. Yeah, sorry.
96. Left the school 93.
Yeah.
Joined 96.
That's right. So Northern Ireland, you did your first tour in 97.
97, yes, Fermanagh.
Yeah. The reason I've got you now. You're Italian bred and a Catholic. How did that?
Yeah. My father was Italian.
Scottish Regiment, and then when you went to Northern Ireland.
Well, yeah, I don't think you know. For me, you know, I joined, as I said, I was in the Royal Scots. When I first got to the battalion, I got to the battalion 2nd January 97, and I was in Charlie Company as a private or a jock, whatever you want to call it. And there was a tune sergeant. And lo and behold, still got a lot of time for the guy. And he still to this day calls me his Catholic love child. He hated Catholics, absolutely despised Catholics. And I still remember to this day, he read my name out and he was like, looked me right in the face and he's like, are you Catholic? And I was like, aye, Sarge, I am. And he's like, you're not going to fucking last 5 minutes, my fucking platoon you. And that was it, you know. But lo and behold, he mellowed dude over time, and he's a character. He was a character then. Big, wee short arse Glaswegian, but a staunch Rangers supporter and big Protestant. But no, a lot of my regiment was very, very Protestant. So for being a Catholic, it's like everything. It's ups and downs. It was more some characters, some right characters. That's
and
when
you went to Northern Ireland and do the tour, you saw two sides of it, didn't you? Really?
Aye, no, of course, because when me growing up in the East Coast, like I said to you, there isn't really a big deal about Catholic and Protestants. It's only until you get over into Glasgow area, you see the divide more. But because obviously I was very East Coast orientated and grew up there, I never seen that, as I said, until I joined up. And then when you go to Northern Ireland and, you know, you see how staunch they are, because if you're a British soldier, you automatically get tagged with the Protestant tag, and subsequently, you know, you are the world's worst to him. You know, you are the pits, and you see the hatred there. And from a Catholic point of view, you do as a young guy, you're like, I don't want to be Catholic anymore because, you know, these people fucking hate me, you know, and then lo and behold, you start hating them because you're like, you know, I don't want to be one of them because these people are out to potentially shoot me. These people are out here potentially want to hurt me. Do you know what I mean? Potentially want to hurt my friends, potentially want to shoot my friends, you know, and these are my pals, you know, at the end of the day. So you don't want to be associating yourself with being a Catholic anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And then, fortunately, you moved to another part of Ireland, didn't you? And you saw the difference, so to speak.
Well, aye. So first tour was for Fermanagh, second was Crossmaglen. Cross, as any infantry soldier will tell you, Crossmaglen's in South Fermanagh. And it's not the nicest place for any British soldier to do a tour in. But we were fortunate enough when we left Colchester, we went to Ballykelly and got a different side to it because, as I said, you see, as I said, Catholic sides, you see Protestant sides, you see, you know, a better way of life, if that makes sense. You're able to go out, you're able to socialise, you're able to have a beer, as long as you're very civilised in what you're doing, you know, and you're not being silly. So you get a different lifestyle to being a soldier in Ireland compared to a 6-month tour, if that makes sense. Yeah,
well, it was just like Glasgow and Edinburgh, isn't it? And you know,
absolutely,
east and the west, because I was born in Glasgow. So
were you? Right,
yeah, so
right.
as a wee lad, I lived in Glasgow for a time, so I know where you're coming from. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I don't sound Scottish now.
So are you a Rangers Celtic man then?
Pass. Yeah.
Pass.
Pass. So that's very interesting. So you could see that you see, because it's just down to how people are bred, isn't it? How they brought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've said it and say it again. You know, take for instance, you know, there's yesterday, I was out with one of my kids yesterday, and if you bring your children up with hatred, it will naturally stick with them for the rest of their life. That doesn't matter if it's your Catholic, Protestant, or if somebody's Asian, or Chinese, or Polish, or Italian. You know, if you turn around and say, that's an Italian bastard, that kid will always think that's an Italian bastard. Whereas kids automatically smile to each other, or happy to each other, because they don't know any different. But if you start teaching and installing that difference into them, they'll grow up with that stigma and they'll grow up with that hatred. So, in other words, if you say to your kids, that boy's going to a Catholic school, he's a Celtic supporter, then he talk to him. That'll happen. That'll continue to happen through life. Or if that kid's black, that person's black, you know, don't talk to them. You know, the way I see it in life is, if you're a wanker, you're a wanker. It doesn't matter what colour of skin you have or your religion, you're just a wanker. I'll not use that to my advantage. You know, treat others how you wish to be treated.
Yeah, and if you think someone's good, then, and if they're not good, just stay away from them. Give them a wide berth. And the other thing I was thinking about when you were saying that, right, is that it is important the way you treat people, and you treat them okay, and by and large, people will treat you. I think that
absolutely. Always my philosophy in life is manners cost nothing. Good karma is a positive thing in life, and if you're good with people, people will receptively be good back to you. And see, if they're not, then at least you can hold your head high and say that you've tried your best, and that's all it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. And I teach my kids the same. Well, they're not kids now; they're adults. But yeah, I've taught them exactly the same. Just treat everyone as equal, and then
because we all come into this world the same way.
Yeah.
Some come in born with money, some come with no money, you know, but it's up to you to move in that direction what you want in your life, you know.
Exactly.
Everything's achievable with a couple of good breaks, obviously.
So thank you for sharing the information so far. And
no worries.
What part of your career did you start thinking, you know what, I've served my Queen and country?
It's a strange one, Joe, because you know I wholeheartedly, it's the best job I ever had. I
Mm,
can say that with my hand on my heart. I loved it, absolutely loved it. You know, I've had this conversation myself numerous times. I still remember I was married to my first wife in Ballykelly, and I remember saying to myself, she didn't like it. She hated it because she couldn't drive. She couldn't go anywhere. She was stuck to the camp patch. She made friends with a female and she was able to go out with her, etc. But she was really restricted. And I said, you know what? She waited for me during the 6 month tour across McGlen. I've now got her over here in Ballykelly. I need to do this for her. And I decided then I was going to sign off. And subsequently, you got that year for when you signed off to
yeah.
basically
12 months
leave.
notice.
Yeah.
I remember.
But I made sure that, you know, the fundamental things I was going to do right. I was going to buy a flat. I was going to get sorted out. I was going to do this. I was going to do that. Get Susan back up the road. You know, so she could get a job. And then once she was sorted, try and save as much money as I could and then do it for her. But I didn't really give myself a chance because the whole time I was doing this, I was hating it because I never wanted to do it. I never wanted to leave.
Yeah.
I wanted to, you know, I remember my company sergeant major, man called Sandy Aitchison. I've got a lot of respect for who went all the way. I remember once saying to him, you know, he's like to me, where do you want to go in your career? And I said, I want your job. I want your seat. I want to be the company sergeant major. That was my aim, was always to be company sergeant major. And even after my NCO's cadre, it was my sergeant major, my NCO's cadre. And I still said it to him on that day, and you know, I still maintain I'm going to have your job one day. You know, because I loved it. I loved wearing my uniform.
Yeah.
I loved being part of that. I loved, you know, it was for me. It was for everything. It wasn't about the money. It was never about the money for me. You know, it was, you know, putting that uniform on, wearing it with pride. You know, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And don't get me wrong, I have still got a lot of good friends that I still keep in touch with to this day. But I also was subjected to a lot of horrible bastards as well. You know, there was a lot of bullies that I served with. A lot of horrible people that, you know, if I was to see them, I potentially wouldn't piss them if they were on fire. Horrible people who made your career horrible. You know, as I said, another story, another time. You know, it was horrible. So I've seen a lot of guys getting subjected to heavy bullying. You know, one guy in particular, I'll not mention any of his name, but I remember I used to lock him in his wardrobe to hide from people, you know, just so he could sleep. And that's how bad it got. You know, back in the 90s, you know, bullying was really rife. And I'm glad to see, because a lot of my friends' sons are in now, and a lot of that's been channeled out now. You know, a lot of that doesn't happen anymore. So maybe I just joined at the wrong era. I don't know.
Well,
But no,
when I was in the 80s initially, 80s and 90s, yeah, there was bullying.
Aye. It was horrific. It was horrific, you know, and a lot I had to do, you know, you watch the film Full Metal Jacket, you know, it wasn't just one person that got bullied, they bullied everyone, which ultimately turned on that one person. So that kind of stigma thing happened, obviously, with ourselves, you know. If you've got a dozen privates who are fairly new and you've got a couple of older senior ones, they're going to rebel on the younger ones. It's only a matter of time before it happens. And the NCOs weren't stupid, they knew exactly what they were doing. But as I say, at the end of the day, which doesn't break you makes you stronger. And as I say, you know, I didn't want to leave, but if I didn't leave, I wouldn't have had the career path I've had since I left the army. So everything in life happens for a reason. You know, sometimes in your life you think to yourself, God, what am I going to do? What am I going to go? What am I going to do? But everything does happen for a reason. Just take a step back, think to yourself, and then move on. As long as you've got your health, that in itself is everything.
Yeah.
And it takes you to a long time in your life. You realise that with your health, you can do anything. You know, everybody suffers with mental health. Everyone has, and my perception of mental health is all to do with your past. Your past and brings forward in your life. It's everything you've done in your life adds up to this mental health and adds up to this build up and where you are as a person. But what you've got to try and do is just try and combat that as best as you can in your life. You know, Christ, there's some days that I'm sitting in the car and I'll be sitting worried about this, and the tears will start pouring down my eyes and thinking, Jesus Christ. But I get on with it. You know, as I say, see if you can get up in the morning, tie your shoelaces, make your bed. That's a starting life.
Well, that's interesting you say make your bed, because I've written a program, Pathfinder, and the first chapter is called Make Your Bed.
Yeah, and I say that. See if you don't make your bed. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad day for you, but it's a step in the right direction. Right. Making your bed, getting up with your alarm, getting a bit of toast, having a cup of tea, doing the things to set off your day and start the ball as you mean to go on. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very helpful. And so, if we just have a whiz bang tour of what you've told me so far. So yeah, you were a bit of a naughty boy when you were younger, right? Your dad said you'd never stick the army. They split up when you were a young lad. You chose to go. Then you went to foster care with a woman who wasn't the nicest. You did a runner from her, hitchhiked home. Next day the sheriffs come, picked you up, took you back. Then you went to court, chose your dad, and your dad said you'd never make the army. Right. Yeah. Now you're in a position where you've served 7 years and you're walking out the gate.
Yeah.
What's going on in your mind now? Because you're with your first wife as well, and you
so basically the battalion was due to go to Bosnia, and I had the option to go. And you know, a part of my wishes I did now, but then if I did go, it would have been the old trap for the army. I'd probably done the 6 months, but I'd probably lost out my opportunity because I'd a start with a recruitment company called Driver Hire. Yeah. And they were wanting me to start. So I was adamant I was not missing this opportunity, because I think I applied to something like 50 odd different recruitment companies, and nobody would give me an opportunity because I didn't have a degree. Right. I was just a lad, left the school with nothing, and I'd been cut about with a rifle for the last 7 years. So in Civvy Street, it's very, very hard. As much as you've got a lot of people going on about all this and all that and all this, back then, it was a big no. You know, ex-forces, no really want to touch. Yeah? No taking into consideration who you are as a person and what you can deliver. Yeah? So I got that opportunity with a company called Driver Hire, albeit I took a massive pay drop because at the time I was a Lance Corporal, and I dropped down from my salary in the army down to £14,000 a year, which for me, with a mortgage, was a massive drop. Yeah, but I knew in my heart of hearts, you're getting an opportunity here, Mark. Go for it. So I did, and I started with Driver Hire, and I worked for them for approximately just about a year. And obviously, I was on the phones, I was bringing on new clients, I was filling jobs, and I was at that point in my life, I was doing obviously driving and industrial recruitment, so recruiting drivers, anything from van drivers up to HGV1 and warehouse staff, forklift drivers, all that carry on. Yeah. And then after a year, I always remember approaching the chap who owned the company and asked him for a pay rise, and he kind of laughed at me. And I thought, well, you know, I'm a bit of a loyal guy, ex-army. I'm showing you loyalty because you give me an opportunity here, but I can't go on with a salary anymore, considering I'm getting offered by other companies. So I decided I left, and I then went to another company called ASA International, which was in Edinburgh, and I went from £14,000 up to 21 grand, which was massive jump.
Wow, that's 50. Yeah, that's like 50%.
21k.
And by the way, recruitment's high pressure, isn't it, as well?
Oh, aye, undoubtedly, because you're, you know, as much as you've got a salary, if you're not making commission, your salary's not worth it, because at the end of the day, you're eventually going to lose your job. Yeah. Because if you're not making the money, you're out of your arse, because unfortunately recruitment companies make money off businesses, and if you're not bringing money in, it's a foregone it's going to happen. Yeah. So I was on 21 and I was able to make bonus, which was commission. And for me, 21 year what age would I have been? 25, 26-year-old. I was keen, I was eager. As I always say, you know, you ever seen the film Pursuit of Happiness before?
Will Smith is absolutely, and his son.
See when he's like that with the phone?
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
All the time. I was on the phone. I was that bad. My son, Cole, was born on the 4th of August at St John's in Livingston. And on the 5th of August, I was at a site called Sainsbury's at Petrevie in Dunfermline trying to poach drivers to come and work for me.
Right. Was that your
Right.
was that your second child? Was that
My first.
No, first
My
child.
first.
Right.
I was there trying to poach drivers to leave their jobs to come and work for me because I needed bodies. I could get jobs. I just didn't have drivers.
Yeah.
But that's what I was like. You know, I would do anything just to make a sale. I would do it, yeah. And then obviously I left ASA and I went to a company called Search. That was probably the longest recruitment agency I'd worked for. I was with Search for 8 years.
Yeah.
Great company. Made a lot of friends, made a lot of money. Was after, it was funny because you go and do a week's training with him, and my report back for training was basically the worst employee of the company as far as the chap was concerned, and I wouldn't last 5 minutes with him. Lo and behold, the third year I was the third top consultant in the whole company.
Well done.
So I stuck 2 fingers up to that chap.
And there's a theme here, isn't there? Because like you did that with your dad as well, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to prove people wrong. I'll be 48 in July. I'm not that same person anymore. A lot has changed since then. I've done a lot of silly things.
Yeah, which we'll come on to in a minute.
A lot of silly things in my younger day. Obviously after Search, moved about a little bit. It seems to be the trademark when people leave that company. They don't seem to be settled because they're a very bloody good company to work for. Well, they were. I don't know what they're like now. And then obviously I was settled a wee bit. But lo and behold, I started doing construction recruitment, and that company went belly up, and then basically had the opportunity to set up on my own, and I've been doing it, as I said, for 7 years now, based in Livingston, concentrating solely on construction. So we do anything from labourers to tradesmen, any tradesmen, and got an office here. This is my second office in Livingston, albeit I set the business up at my dining room table. I'm working from my dining room. And then obviously my 2 wee boys were born, and I decided enough's enough, I need to get an office. So I opened my first office in Livingston, moved into a new office in September of last year. Staff, I've got one chap, Paul, working with me. Paul being my right-hand man, my wee best friend. I don't know what I do with the lad. And I've got Leslie Ann as well. And I'm looking to bring on another chap or female in the mix. They're trying to sort that at the moment, and just keep growing and just see where it takes us. 7 years now, so who knows?
That's fantastic. That to be 7 years in business, running your own business, and providing other people with a livelihood and putting money into the economy, which is fantastic. So
do the best I can, because obviously a lot of the guys we take on are all self-employed, etc., tradesmen. But you know, we could have anything between 50 to 100 temps a week.
Yeah.
And these guys work for us. So it's all good.
So that's brilliant. So how do you deal with, because we've talked about it, we've touched on it quite a bit. How do you deal with failure?
With who, sorry?
How do you deal with failure? What's your standard operating procedure?
I don't really see anything as a failure, if I'm honest with you, because at the end of the day, what's meant to be will be. Never, you know, I fell out with a client last week there. I'll give you this scenario, who I've been dealing with for 7 years. And I took it a wee bit hard, don't get me wrong. And when I say I don't take failure well, I took it very hard. And it was because it was a personal note, because unfortunately, I sell the worst commodity in the world, that being the human being, because I'm not the most reliable. And unfortunately, if you put, it's like taking a horse to water. You can't make a drink. When you take it there, you can put it in front of the barrel.
Yeah.
You know, you can't keep its head down all the time. It's got to come up. So it's like a human being. If you make a deal with someone to start his job on a Monday, and that person, for whatever reason, decides not to show up, that isn't your fault, technically. Because at the end of the day, the way I say it, and I say this to the guys as well, as long as that client, if he phones you and you answer that phone, tick 1. If you phone that client, you make him aware, tick 2. If you're doing everything you possibly physically can, you're doing everything you can. It's no your fault at the end of the day. So that's no failure. That's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know.
So exactly. So you don't win or lose. You win or learn, don't you?
Yes, you do. You do. Or you
So,
hope to learn.
Yeah. And what's the secret of your success then?
Having good people around about me. Having good people around about me. My incentive every day is my kids. Because without them, I don't know where I would be.
And right, you've got, so we've touched on it, and I know you're a great family man, and you've got 6 kids. You've got 6 kids now. You've got 6 kids now, haven't you?
6 kids, yeah.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. So and now you're with your third partner, and you've been with her a while. And
yeah, 7 years.
And you make each other happy, which is fabulous. And the kids keep you on your toes. So
yeah,
one of the things,
very much on my toes.
Yeah, yeah, because your youngest is how old, or how
12 weeks old. 12 weeks old today.
12 weeks. Wow, that will keep you on your toes, mate. Yeah, fantastic.
12 weeks old today.
And during your time, I would imagine you've had a few people that you've lent on a bit. What I mean by that is they've taught you the ropes. They've showed you what's right and what's not so right. How important do you think having a good coach and/or mentor is?
Well, see, I'm also very, very lucky as well, because remember I said to you a key word about karma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the chap that I was working for, who was going belly up, decided in his wisdom to basically bump a lot of people out of money. And unfortunately, that's no high in my agenda, or would I have that in my conscience knowing that. So I made a chap aware that he was about to be bumped to £40,000. He managed to stop that man being able to do that by means of sheriff court. And subsequently, that's how I was able to set up my business, because the £40,000 he was going to get bumped out of, he gave to me to set my business up.
Oh, wow.
That's and then lo and behold, he gave me that on a short term, well, not even a short term, paid a couple of years. Lo and behold, that man now he's like a wee, I call him my big brother. He's always there for me. I speak to him at least twice a week. He helps me with my bookkeeping. He helps me with all my financial stuff. If I need any help, advice, he's a financial director, financial coach. And yeah, I've been very, very lucky. And that was all because I couldn't have my conscience know that man was going to get bumped. Because I don't, you know, there's not a guy in this business that doesn't get paid. Everybody gets paid, even if it was to come out of my own back pocket. I'd shut the business down to make sure people go paid. Yeah. I don't believe in bad things to people. I believe in good things, and I believe in helping people as much as I physically can. Just try and do it as best I can.
Yeah. I recognise that, and the fact when I work with my clients, they say, well, the advice is just great. You know, to just be able to give someone that little push or the final bit of advice that helps them over the hump or the challenge. So what's the one tip you would give to a veteran or a guy who's coming out of the military, or maybe someone who's in business? So just a one tip that you would give them that could really help them if they're not doing as well as they possibly could.
Never give in. Reach out. Yeah. Never give in. Reach out. Speak to people. This is what a lot of guys end up not doing. And this is why I said I'd be happy, you know, help you guys and come online. You know, I'm nothing perfect. I'm not a finishing article. I make mistakes on a daily, weekly basis. But I never give in.
Yeah.
I never give in. Look at what you've got in front of you. See what you've got. Use your kids. Use your car. Use whatever you want to give you an incentive. Give you a scenario. I stopped smoking after I left the army. Do you know why? Because I went to buy a car and I was told the car would cost me £360 a month. At the time, I was paying £200 a month for my car I had. Couldn't afford the £360 a month. But then I realised what I spent on cigarettes every day. And I went that morning, honestly, I put the cigarettes in the bin, made that phone call to Edinburgh Audi, and I bought that Audi that I wanted, that Audi TT. And I put the fags in the bin because the money I was spending on the cigarettes, I could afford that car.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
Never give in. Always keep going. If there's something you want to do, or reach out. And there is enough guys who are ex-servicemen. You know, everyone has this cliche about brothers, yeah? Well, use it to your bloody advantage. Reach out, speak to someone. Ask somebody for your help. You know, we're all, you know, you look at even the infantry, for instance, you've got three companies, support company, fire support, headquarter company. How many people in any given regiment, undermanned or manned? There's lots and lots of people out there that you can speak to or try and get help. And that's half the battle. I'll talk, I'll ask questions, and I'll reach out if I need help.
Right.
And that's what a lot of guys don't do.
Thank you for that. And of course, you've got brothers and sisters, and we're all in the mix and helping each other. Now, you mentioned something before about, you know, you've been in the infantry and you hadn't learned a lot of skills. One thing that you had learned, though, was how to turn up on time, do what you're going to do.
Still got anxiety if I'm not on time, though. That's a true story.
Yeah. But the thing is, you learn a lot of soft skills. So how transferable do you think those skills are to Civvy Street? Because you get people jobs, don't you? And you were talking about someone didn't turn up and let you down. How important are the skills you learn in the military in Civvy Street?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, if you look at what you do in the army, the simple things, like I said to you, get up, get ready, make your bed, do this, do that, do this. If you see the average civvy, who is a civvy, they don't do these things. A lot of civvies just get out their bed, they don't make their bed, brush their teeth, they go to work. You know what I mean? And they don't think about the simple things. And you know, we are an ex-squaddy. You're going to get all the abundance of things and the loyalty and the dedication and the hard working and no taking time off for sickness, etc. Yeah, and that's a big plus side, but you don't realise that, and you know, these are the qualities you've learned, and that's a big life skill.
Definitely. Thank you. So we're coming to the end now, and we're going to wrap it up in a second.
Thankfully, I burst in the toilet.
Right. Well, I will hurry up then. Yeah, good, because we don't want any incidents. Right. So what's the future hold for you now? What does the future hold for you now, Mark?
Sorry?
What does the future hold for you now?
Listen, no one knows what tomorrow brings, but today is today. So I'm going to enjoy my day today, and I'm going to try and have a good day today. And then, God willing, I'll wake up tomorrow morning. I'll do the same again tomorrow. Take every day as it comes. Enjoy your life as best you can. Yeah, I can turn around and say I'm away to Egypt next month. I've got an extension getting built in my house. I need to be in the house for the next 4 hours. That's true, by the way.
Yeah.
I've got a big extension done in the house and all that to accommodate my bloody kids. You know, and I'm away to Egypt next month because I need to be in the house for at least 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, we can say all these things. You know, we're taking the kids to Euro Disney at Christmas time. I'm blessed. I'm able to do all these things because, you know, what I'm doing in this life, but never take for granted. Always enjoy the day. Wait for the day. What about tomorrow when it comes?
Thank you. And the final thing is, how can people get in touch with you?
Give me a text, give me a call, send me an email, just whatever. So,
and LinkedIn's a good place as well, isn't it? That's
where absolutely. LinkedIn, company has got a LinkedIn page as well. So Map Recruitment.
Map Recruitment.
Map, as in my initials, Marc Alexander Poli.
Yeah.
You get us on there. And if we can help MD, absolutely, of course.
Mark, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for your service to the country.
Thank you so much, sir. It's been a pleasure, Joe.
Okay, cheers. So, remember, it's been an absolute privilege, and I hope that you've enjoyed this today. Remember, you want to learn about coaching and all the sorts of stuff that we've talked about today, visit joeteams.com, joeteams.com, and you can find out all the resources that are for less than the price of 2 cups of coffee per month. And until we meet again, have a brilliant day. Thank you. joeteams.com is a resource I have created to fulfill my mission to help 1 million veterans and business entrepreneurs like you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations they deserve. joeteams.com is jam-packed full of valuable resources specifically designed to help you on your journey to success. Visit joeteams.com now to find out how you can join and start your journey to success immediately. That's joeteams.com, joeteams, joeteams.com. And until we meet again, have a brilliant day.